We had to talk a little bit about planning poker and story points so that we could have a conversation about economies of estimation. We're not typically estimating things in terms of time. We're estimating, particularly with story points, teams estimate using no units at all, only relative sizing. What's interesting about this is that we can correlate two completely different pieces of work. In my experience, this makes it possible for a team to estimate things at a very high level of detail. Now, even though we have a very perfect and exacting taxonomy of requirements shown here on the screen, it all starts with a set of strategic goals and maybe strategic planning for the year. We might have a team, let's call them Team A, and this could be our executive staff, that sits around and uses planning poker to size strategic goals and initiatives for the year. Don't laugh, I've actually seen this work. Quite well, in fact. Now, scaling does introduce complexity, and so each and every one of these strategic goals may well break down into a set of product goals. And in your organization, the taxonomy of your requirement structure is probably quite different than this, but hopefully this will give you a sense of how we can scale requirement structures in our product backlog. The team estimating product goals may well not be the same team that estimated the size of the strategic goals. For simplicity's sake, let's say that Team A is made up of executives and Team B of directors. This means necessarily that maybe product owners or some other well-informed group of practitioners are sizing our feature sets down at this level, because each product goal in this structure breaks down to one or more feature sets. And finally, of course, features themselves get estimated by the teams during backlog grooming sessions. We can actually see a team estimate a strategic goal and consider how this might balance against the other strategic goals in that team's backlog. It's pretty easy to see here that the second strategic goal is a lot bigger in size and scope than the third one. Armed with this information and a projection of how much money a given strategic goal may generate, we can make some very good decisions about prioritization in our organization, looking at return on investment. Now, Team B may receive one of these strategic goals and decompose it into product goals, and of course, provide estimates all along the way. The interesting thing here is that teams A, B, C, and the Scrum teams are all estimating using the same deck of cards, the same units, the same economy of estimation. But wait, it's not exactly the same economy. An 8 estimated by Team A has a very different meaning than an 8 estimated by Team C. In fact, we can look at dollar amounts for each and every one of these levels of estimation. This is what we mean by an estimation economy. One of the deep, dark little secrets is that Scrum Masters on the back end will translate these estimates and size projections into dollars. We'll know that 1 point worth of work in a given economy of estimation might be worth $10 million, and in another economy of estimation, 1 point at the bottom of this illustration is worth a little over $1,600. That's quite a difference. Scaling does increase the complexity of using systems like this, so it's important to realize when you talk about the sizes of things that you understand the economy of estimation in which the given item was sized. As long as a team understands this concept of estimation economies, it's not impossible for one team to estimate on two different levels of our requirement structure. It takes a fairly sophisticated Scrum team to do this without getting confused. And lastly, I'll say that there's another very popular technique out there called t-shirt sizing, in which instead of story points, teams use t-shirt sizes to estimate the relative size of given product backlog items. The single most common anti-pattern I find in product backlog grooming sessions is one or two developers who simply must dive down into the weeds of implementation detail before they're willing to make an estimate at all. For this scenario, I would encourage you to pause the video in just a moment and take some time to discuss how you would advise this team. If this hasn't yet happened in your estimation process, you haven't been doing it very long. This is a very real situation. So take the time to consider how you'll deal with it when the time comes. Although there's no silver bullet for dealing with this situation, I strongly encourage you to raise everyone's level of understanding about this process. Help them understand that they're only sizing really big chunks of work against each other. Show them the slides from this presentation if that's what it takes to get the point across. It's critical that you don't allow the conversation to dive deeply, or you run the risk of losing the team and their ability to estimate forever.